And so I read these. I thought there were some really good things. So I want to go over these. And then I wrote down some notes next to them on how they kind of relate to our business, because this wasn't written specifically for real estate agents. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. So the first point here that he wrote down is in terms of reversing your fortunes, moving forward ahead in 2021 out of COVID, is be careful how you frame this situation to yourself. Be careful how you frame this situation to yourself. So what he means by that is, don't ever look at something as starting over. Okay, put that away. Don't put that in your mind. It's not about starting over or anything like that. Instead, call it a comeback. Because when you call it a comeback, you feel like the leading character in a powerful story. So the example he gives, he says, imagine going to a movie or reading a book that opens with the main character having his or her life figured out. They're successful at home, at work, they're loved and understood by their family and friends, they're spiritually mature, they never forget a birthday or anniversary, they take the garbage out. And then you go to the middle of the story and nothing's changed. Everything's still perfect. You know, life is an unbroken string of successes. And at the end, the exact same. There's no growth. There's no change. There's no challenges to overcome. There's no fear stared down. Nothing has been learned. Okay. Well, who's going to go to that movie? Who's going to read that book? Probably nobody, because we as human beings love comebacks. The greatest stories are typically comeback stories. So if you see yourself as starting over, you focus on where you used to be. So if you say, I need to start over, you're focusing on where you used to be. However, if you see yourself as engineering a comeback, that will take you to higher heights than you reached before. That forces you to set your sights on the end and where you're going, how your new dream will make your life even better. So in terms of the foundation here of how do I make that adjustment? How do I keep moving ahead? Don't think of it as starting over. Think of it as a comeback. Everybody is, he writes this down here. Everybody is taken to their knees by something. Meaning everyone's taken down. Everyone's beaten down. Everyone's, broken down by something. The real question is not where you are now, it's where you're going to go. It's, are you willing to create a vision larger than yourself so you can create something even better than before? That's a comeback. Okay, that's a comeback. There's two quotes that you can write down that kind of make this very similar to this. There's one that I've read that says, the comeback is greater than the setback. So for some of you, 2020 might have been a setback because of COVID and all these other different things. Well, engineer a comeback. Make the comeback greater than the setback. Okay. The other one is something that Neil always talks about, is it's not about where you are today. It's about where you're going to be tomorrow. So think of it that way from the foundation. If you need to reset something, if you need to engineer some new business, if you need to engineer a new mindset, you're not starting over. You're just simply engineering a comeback. Okay. And that's the story that everybody wants. Okay. Point number 2, don't wait too long. Don't wait too long. So here's the thing about that. If you wait until you're 100% sure you're ready, you'll be waiting a long time. If you wait until you're 100% sure you're ready, you'll be waiting a long time. Few things in life are certain. One of the things that's certain is you'll face uncertainty. And that's even more true today. We think we're getting close to the end of this, and by all accounts, in terms of numbers, we're getting close. But what does that mean? They say LA County is moving to the yellow tier. Well, what does that mean? Well, more things can open, but can this open? Can we do that? There's some people that are very pro-vaccine. Let's go, get the vaccine. Everyone get the vaccine. There's a lot of people that are very anti-vaccine and say, I don't want to be injected with anything. Okay, there's no right or wrong answer to that. But the point is there's still uncertainty of what's going on. But if you ignore when to get started, when to make a comeback, when to start your next step in life or business, you're just going to make it worse. You're never going to be 100% ready. This ties a lot into when we work with buyers. One of the quotes I've said for years is that waiters will wait forever. Well, I'll buy when interest rates are lower. Okay. And then interest rates drop. Yeah, but prices are too high. Okay. You get the trend. Waiters will wait forever. If you wait for your 100% ready, you'll be waiting a long time. Now, here's the thing. It's also not wise to be a perfectionist once you get rolling. You have to try different things. They're not all going to work. If you're successful in life, keep trying new things. Because there's a quote that goes with Lou Holtz, who's a former football coach, says you're either getting better or getting worse. So even if you're successful, you have to keep trying new things. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you get rid of the things that are working, but you have to constantly adapt. Neil's probably the best example of that, actually, because obviously very successful, but he's constantly looking to try new things. What about this digital thing? Oh, what if we do this? What if we try this new thing? He's always bringing new things. He's always trying to learn new things. Even if you're successful, you have to keep trying new things. Most people are trying to wait until something's perfect. It's just never going to happen. Okay? Don't be upset. Don't be upset at me. You're not perfect. Okay? I know. But Robert, my mother told me that I'm perfect. I'm not telling you your mother's wrong. I'm just saying she's not right. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the way I want to go. Okay? But you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And you don't want to be perfect. You don't want to be perfect. Being perfect is boring. Okay? So don't worry about being perfect. You have to keep trying new things. All the greatest internet companies, tech companies are constantly looking to add new things. How do we make this faster? How do we make this better? How do we make this more efficient? We constantly think that there's no possible way technology can get even better, and yet there's a new app that comes out. There's a new system that comes out. There's a new software that comes out because these companies are constantly trying to figure out how to get better. Bill Gates does not need any more money. He's going to be okay financially. But yet Microsoft is constantly changing, constantly trying to get better. Okay, that's just the way it goes. Okay, you have to just keep testing things, see what works. And then when you find out what works, do more of that. And what doesn't work, change it. But don't wait too long to get started. You're never going to be 100% ready to get going. Get in there and just start playing the game. Excuse me. All right, number 3, play the opposite game. Anyone here ever had a hard time figuring out how to get started or what they wanted their goals to look like? Okay. Anyone ever had that problem? Some of you got it. Excuse me. One of the things you can do is play the opposite game. See, most people struggle to lay out their hopes, their dreams about their relationships, their work, their life. They struggle to articulate them. We do this when we're doing business plans. Well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to make more money. Okay. Well, what does that mean? What does that look like? I want to travel. Where? How? When? So like we know the vague terms, but we have a hard time articulating them, specifying them. So here's a little game you can play. Get out a piece of paper, get out a pen, or get out your type pad, whatever the case may be, and describe, you could do this for personal or business, but here's an example, is describe the relationship from hell, right? Describe who you don't want to be with. what they're like, how they behave, how they treat you, how they treat themselves, their bodies, their emotions, their spirits? Or what's the job from hell? You don't want to be around people who do what? You don't want to do what? And once you write out the job from hell, the relationship from hell, say, I'm going to do the opposite. This is a way to turn anger and frustration into positives. You could say, this is what I don't want, because most people know what they don't want. They don't always know what they do want. So write out the opposite and you'll have the exact relationship or job that you're looking for by just simply saying, well, I don't want that. So we relate that in our business of, okay, describe your real estate career from hell. Oh, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I don't have this. I don't have that. Okay, well then let's do the opposite of that. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it. Someone's going to ask me about the real estate market and I don't know the answer. Okay, this is the exact, you don't want this. Okay, well then let's play the opposite. How do we make sure that if somebody asks you a question about the market and you don't know the answer, how do you make sure that that doesn't happen? Sometimes that can help people figure out better what they want, articulate what they really want to accomplish by simply writing down first the exact opposite of that, because we certainly know what we don't want. All right, number 4, don't stress about being afraid. Don't stress about being afraid. And don't be afraid of stress. Don't stress about being afraid, and don't be afraid of stress. I mean, you think about 2020, and I guess for some people, it's even going as far as today. It was hard not to be afraid of what was going on in the world. I mean, there was a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of craziness. There were reports of deaths. There was violent acts. There was all kinds of things going on. We were concerned about a virus. We were concerned about an election. We were concerned about protests. I mean, it was hard not to be afraid or somewhat stressed out about something in 2020. Okay. Now, some of us keep a little bit cooler head about it. Some people are, wackadoodles, and the stress and the fear, and some of us are a little bit cooler about it. But it was hard not to feel something. So fear and anxiety are, even more present now because of just what's going on in the world and the changes that are happening and things like that. But it's not as if fear, anxiety, stress have never been around. Okay. March of 2020, a lot of fear and anxiety hit because the United States went to essentially a stay-at-home order because of the virus. Well, I'm guessing March of 2019, you also had some fear or stress or anxiety in your life as well, just a totally different thing. It could have been financially, it could have been work, it could have been relationships, it could have been anything. So it's not that this is a totally new concept. It's just different because of what's going on. So here's the thing. People hope for a stress-free life. Write this down. That's impossible. Okay? I don't care who you are, what you do, you're going to have stress. Let me see something here. Let me see. She's on the phone. Never mind. I was going to ask Nancy a question. But you're always going to have stress. It's not possible to have a stress-free life. Even in our business, I was going to ask Nancy, but she was on the phone. I was going to ask Nancy, hey, Nancy, do you ever stress about business? And I guarantee she's going to say, yeah. Yeah, I do. Well, how's that possible with someone at your production level? There's always going to be stress. Sometimes it's stress because you're so busy, which is a good problem to have, but it's still stressful trying to do all these things. Sometimes it's stress because you're not busy at all. Sometimes it's stress because you have transactions or clients that are really making your life stressful. It's completely impossible to have a stress-free life. There's a joke that says, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And it's the point of all that is, you have these plans. I've got all this figured out. Here's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to get up. I'm going to drive to work. I'm going to get in the office. And as soon as I get to the office, I'm going to get my dialer going. And you've got all these wonderful things going. And then you get in the car, you drive down the street and you get a flat tire. And it's like, I just had this great plan. And this stuff happens. There's no way you're going to avoid stress altogether. So the real secret is not to avoid stress, because stress is what makes you stronger if you learn how to use stress and not let stress use you. Okay? Don't pray for no problems. Pray for being bigger, stronger, and better. The problems are going to happen. You can either let stress totally destroy you, you can let the fear totally destroy you, or you can just accept that it's going to happen. I'm just going to work on being bigger, better, and stronger. The only way to defeat fear is through action. That's the only way to do it. The only way to defeat fear is through action. But you're never going to have a stress-free life. It's just impossible. All right, number 5, train your mind. Train your mind. So this is a Jim Rohn quote, who's another author, motivational speaker, so on and so forth. He says, you can miss a meal, but don't miss reading a book 30 minutes a day. Now, I'll be honest with you here. I'm not missing any meals. Okay, so I'll do both. Because if you've ever seen those Snickers commercials where like they say, you're kind of a diva when you're hungry, and then they give them a Snickers, that's kind of me. Okay, if I don't get, my food, I'm not very pleasant. So I'm not going to skip any meals. But the point is here, don't miss reading a book 30 minutes a day. Okay, pursue a book that will give you new strategies, new insights, new philosophies. And as Tony Robbins would say, going back to point 1, there's a lot of books about comebacks, biographies in general, autobiographies. Typically if somebody has a biography, they did something successful. Now, it might not have been success for the good, but they were successful at what they were trying to accomplish. What I mean by that is you can learn a lot from reading about, dictators and stuff that didn't do what we would deem to be positive things for society, but they were successful in the goals that they accomplished. We may not agree with their goals, but they were successful in that. So there is something to learn even from those types of things. Okay, their roads to the top are not easy. So when you're reading a biography or an autobiography, you're reading their words, you're thinking their thoughts. You begin to think and feel like them. Here's a great example. If you've ever traveled anywhere for an extended period of time, have you ever found yourself picking up some of the language patterns of people, accents, even a little bit? Yeah, it's just the way it goes. Okay. When I went to go live in New York, let me tell you something. I talk just like this. Unless I'm walking down the street going to a pizza place with one of my buddies there, then all of a sudden everyone's Italian. Okay, it's just the way it goes, right? Everyone starts talking Italian, and it's no longer, I would like some mozzarella pizza, some mozzarella and some, everyone's Italian all of a sudden, right? It's not calamari, it's galamad, the whole thing. You become a product of that environment. Okay. I find myself I'm a big mafia movie and TV show person, but I have to watch myself because one time I was binge watching The Sopranos and all of a sudden I'm using a lot of F-bombs in my regular life. Okay. Just because that's just, they say it like every other word in the TV show. So you become part of that. So when you're reading these biographies, you're reading their words, you're thinking your thoughts, you begin to think and feel like they do. This is why it's really important to surround yourself with the right people and what you're putting in your head, because you will begin to think and feel and talk like them. That's why I joke about the Sopranos thing, but it really was one of those things where I was like, you binge watch a show and you're totally enamored by it, and you're all of a sudden you become like it. I'm like, okay, I got to watch this every so often because this is not good for my speech pattern. So you really have to look at those things, but that's how you train your mind. But the benefits of reading go far beyond giving you ideas or motivation. It helps you stronger mentally, period. So every day you've got to strengthen your mind. And that could be just simply reading 30 minutes a day. Now, for some of you, you like more of the audible books than actually reading a book. My personal opinion, I don't think you get a lot from audible books because I don't think a lot of people pay attention. Okay, I think that's human nature. Now, you might be different. I can't do audible books. It doesn't benefit me whatsoever because I'm not going to remember. I have to highlight, I have to underline, I have to do those kind of things. So be careful if you're just simply an audible person. Here would be a good question. If you did an audible book and I asked for a book report, could you give me a detailed book report? Some of you can. Some of you can do a great job with that, but I would be careful about that with some of the audible stuff. But spend at least 30 minutes a day reading. Okay, number 6, train your body. So number 5 was train your mind. Number 6 was train your body. So an example of this, Tony Robbins, to train his body to do something different. When you're reading, you're training your mind to think better, think bigger, think like somebody else, motivation, things like that. One of the things that he would do to train his body to do something different, to just kind of shake up his core, is he jumps into frigid water. He doesn't want to, but he does it. So typically in the mornings, he'll jump into water that's like 38, 39 degrees. Now, if he's in somewhere where there's like a lake or something, then he'll do that at there. But if he's not, because his home is in Florida, typically it doesn't get very cold. He has a pool that's very cold, and he'll do that in the morning and he'll jump in it. And that's, it's a way to kind of shake up his body, shake up his core, train his body to do different things, to be able to adapt different things, to move in different ways. So you have to train your body the same way you train your mind. That could come from simple things like exercise, doing stuff like that, putting it in just random cold water. There's a guy that I read books about, or who writes books and I read a lot. His name's Tim Ferriss. He talks about what he does is when he's taking a shower in the morning, he takes a regular like warm shower, but the last 2 minutes of the shower, he turns it on the water as cold as he can. And for 2 minutes, he's doing that. Now, let me tell you something. I'll be honest. That does not sound appealing, okay, to me. I've taken cold showers because, I am just like everyone else. Have probably had a situation where the water heater went out, okay, or things like that. And so, but you gotta do something, okay? So I've done the cold shower thing, not on purpose, but I just had to. I'm not a fan of it, but I understand the concept. But the point is you're just training your body to do different things, to shake it up a little bit, shake up the core. So it could be jumping in cold water. Athletes do this with ice. They'll do ice, they'll put their bodies in ice to help the body heal or train their body. LeBron does something, it's like cryogenic body freezing in the off season where, you got to have real money to do some of this stuff. Okay. But like he does this thing where it's like he puts his body in like a cryogenic chamber and it's supposed to do something. I don't know, but it seems to work for him. Okay. But the point is you could do little things like that. It could be stretching. It could be doing yoga. Okay. Could be the opposite of cold and doing stuff like hot yoga, which, let me tell you something also on a true story. I did that once and I was not meant for that class. Okay. So if anyone who's ever done hot yoga, God bless you. Okay. I did that this is a true story. When I was dating Amber, who's now my wife, I would do anything to, impress her, and whatever you want. And I've never taken a yoga class ever in my life. Okay. Not because I have anything against yoga. It was just that for me, if I'm going to go spend time exercising, there's going to be some steel, there's going to be some weights, that's just who I am. She's like, hey, will you go to a yoga class with me? What the hell? Sure. Why not? So we go to this yoga class, and I got my, my workout attire on. I got my workout towel, whatever. And it's this dark room, and we walk in, and it's hot. It's hot, right? And we're doing these stretches, and I'm just a mess. I'm just like, oh my gosh, my towel is soaked. I'm just sweating, and I'm partially sweating because it's hot. I'm also partially sweating because I'm probably embarrassed because I'm supposed to be on this is like a date thing with my wife or a girlfriend at the time. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I remember my towel was a mess, and I'm just sitting there. We're doing more of these stretches, and the instructor this is such a sweetheart. This instructor was. She could see that I was struggling. Okay. So she as everyone she's like, there's one of the things where you close your eyes, because she didn't want to put me on blast. So when everyone closed their eyes, she walks around and she puts another towel right next to me like this. I got you. And I just remember oh, thank you, because I just needed a new towel. And the worst part, the worst part about all that was, next to me is another guy. And this is an ego thing. I'm well aware. There's a guy next to me, and he's just doing all this. And I'm looking at him like, dude, help me. Okay. Why don't you struggle like me? Guys, stick together. And no, he just went on perfectly, just doing his stretches and just enjoying life. And I was we got out of there. Amber looks at me, and she's just you could tell she's trying not to laugh because she doesn't know if it's going to make me annoyed, but she's just looking at me like, wow, I'm just a mess.
Robert, that is the best. Sweating and dripping, soaking.
I get it. Look at, I'm all for it, but man, I tell you,
that is the Bikram yoga. Oh, the best. Oh, I love it. I miss that.
I agree, Tess. I agree. Those are good workouts, but I will note, I never did that class ever again. I was not, but so
especially when you're not used to the smell.
Yeah, it was something. So that was so you gotta shake the body up every so often. You gotta train the body. And so it could be Tony Robbins jumping in cold water. It could be me doing hot yoga. You just gotta train your body to do different things every so often. That's just going to help you continue to move forward. It's just that you just have to do those kind of things. So good stuff. Mario says that the cold shower for 2 minutes is great. So yeah, there you go. Tim Ferriss, who's a big life support guy, and not life support, life coach, is big on that. He does the shower, and then the last 2 minutes is a cold thing. So look, you just have to shake it up. All right, good stuff. Number 7, ask new questions, have new conversations, seek out new perspectives. Ask new questions, have new conversations, seek out new perspectives. So example of this, Tony Robbins was given this example. When the shutdown began, they closed big gatherings. So he had to come up with a new way to reach people. So initially he thought maybe movie theaters, giant churches, but those got closed too. So it's, what the heck do I do? And what his mindset was that he wasn't just going to do some webinar. Okay. He didn't want to just do that. So then he went to Zoom, and it's like, well, maybe I could do something on Zoom. Zoom seems to be a very big thing, but Zoom maxes out at 1,000 viewers. And when you're Tony Robbins, you need something bigger. So his mindset, instead of just accepting that, well, I guess we'll just have to accept this for what it is and we'll make sacrifices, he didn't look at it from that perspective. He was asking new questions of, well, what else is out there? What else can I do? Who else can I talk to? What other options are out there to make my life not just maintain, but continue to strive and move forward? So what he did is he visited a production company. And they had set up a studio with a curtain and a stage and a bank of screens. He walks onto stage, which was maybe 4 feet by 4 feet. And again, he was discouraged. He said, I can't do this. This is too small. So, he's used to speaking at stadiums, tens of thousands of people. He bursts through curtains and all these other different things. So what he decides to do then, he's working through this. And on the small stage in North Carolina with the screens in front of him, he felt triggered again. He started riffing, just brainstorming out loud about what his new goals may be. And then somebody recorded his thoughts as they poured out of him, and he envisioned a live interactive experience. He wanted to be surrounded by 16-foot high, 50-foot wide screens. He wanted to be able to see 3,000 people at a time, swipe, see more, many again. So he hired 6 different companies to turn this vision into a reality, and they told him it would take 9 months. He said, no, we have 9 weeks. And one of the companies was able to do it in 9 weeks. So the result was that he had the biggest event he's ever done of this type, any sort of video. He reached 35,000 people over the course of a 4-day event. But none of that would have been possible if he hadn't forced himself to pursue new ways of doing things. By getting around these new voices and having new conversations and asking new questions and getting new perspectives, he was able to create, not just survive where we were. So when you're looking about moving forward or getting yourself back going again, you have to think about that. You have to look at things in a different perspective. We do the best job we can of that. We do this stuff on Zoom. That's how our company's adapted. We can use Zoom because we don't need something for more than 1,000 people. And some of you do a great job. You do some of your presentations for buyers or sellers virtually, which saves you time and things along those lines. But not only can you do it virtually, can you do a virtual presentation? Do you know how to share your screen? Do you know how to do the cameras and all these other different things? And then now we're doing that. And then it's like, well, what else can we do? Well, Jocelyn creates a virtual listing presentation. Okay, well, what else can we do? We're asking different questions, looking at different things. The website we're building, I say the word we a lot. I have nothing to do with this. Jocelyn's doing all of it. Jocelyn's building a new century21masters.com website. Well, the concept was, how do we make it look more modern? How do we make it look better? Well, we can brainstorm all these ideas, or we can go talk to different people that have built some similar types of websites. What'd you do? What was your concept? And she's in the process of building this website. And I got a peek at it the other day. It's going to look really good. So you have to ask new questions. You have to be around different people that are looking to adapt and looking to change. Otherwise, you'll get stuck doing olden things. Okay. So you have to be willing to do those kind of stuff.
That's going to be for all the agents that,
well, it's going to be the company website, century21masters.com. But to your point, Valerie, we're working on something. I have no idea. I even hesitate saying it because I have no idea if we're going to be able to pull this off. But we're working on stuff to help agents more digitally, more kind of custom websites and more kind of custom pages and things like that. I don't know if we're going to have the ability to do it just based on bandwidth, but it is in the conversation of us doing more of those types of things. But what she's building right now is the century21masters.com website, which will have all the agent information and all that stuff on there as well. All right, last point. Analyze your habits of focus. Analyze your habits of focus. So this is number 8 on the list, but this was a really good story to hear. And so it's a little long. It's going to be a couple minutes, so I apologize, but we'll wrap up here in a minute. But this is a good story. So to illustrate this point, they were talking to Tony Robbins, and he was thinking about a Thanksgiving dinner that he had with his family when he was 11. His family was poor. They couldn't afford a big meal. And, as his parents were fighting and arguing about what they didn't have for Thanksgiving dinner, they hear a knock on the door. Tony Robbins, 11 years old, answers it. There's a man standing there with a bag of groceries and an uncooked turkey. So Tony has his father come to the door. His father angrily wouldn't accept the charity and tried to slam the door. So the door hits the man's foot. Guy puts his foot in the door. He tries to persuade Tony's father to accept the food. He said he was just a delivery person, that the donor was anonymous, that nobody even knew where the food came from. And again, his dad tried to shut the door. This time, the man blocked it with his shoulder. He again pleaded with Tony Robbins' father to accept the food. And he said, "Sir, please don't make your family suffer because of your ego." And Tony Robbins says it was just one of those moments you never forgot. And even as veins bulged out of his father's head, he was as mad as Tony Robbins had ever seen him. His father grabbed the grocery, slammed the door shut. This time the man allowed it to close. His father never said thank you. So Tony Robbins was thinking to himself that he was flabbergasted. How could my dad not be happy? And it took him years to understand what happened, and he gets it now. He said, people are controlled by 3 decisions, often made subconsciously. They are, number 1, what am I going to focus on? Number 2, what does it mean? And number 3, what am I going to do about it? So in this particular case, his dad focused on the fact that he had not fed his family. He didn't want to accept the charity. He was ashamed, and apparently of the fact somebody had thought he had to accept the charity. And that meant he was unable to provide for his family. And what he did about it was get angry. So Tony Robbins goes on to say, what we focus on, we feel, even if it's not true. If you think something is terrible, you'll find ways to prove it's terrible. If you think something's great, you'll find what's great. Your mindset is the most important thing in a turnaround. So it's just a really interesting story that there's someone that instead of accepting the gift in this particular case to help himself out and help his family, he got angry. He saw nothing but a problem, and he looked for every way to prove that it was a problem. Instead of just simply thinking it's great, you'll find what's great. Your mind is the most important thing. If you think something's terrible, you'll find ways to prove it's terrible. If you think something's great, you'll find ways to prove it's great. This happens all the time in our business. If you're convinced there's no listings out there, you will find ways to prove that there are no listings out there. If you think there are listings out there, you will find ways to prove that there's listings out there. But a lot of it comes to the mind. So you need to focus, analyze your habits of focus. What are you focusing on? Okay. It's not a coincidence that people that typically think positive tend to get, quote unquote, all the luck. Oh, that person gets all the luck. And yet they're always the ones that seem to be the most positive, most excited, most willing to have conversations, most willing to look at opportunities in a positive way. They seem to get all the luck. Okay, your mind is the most important thing. So look, those were 8 different points on essentially how to either stage a comeback, how to turn things around, how to refocus, how to shift gears. And I thought this was really great information that a lot of us could probably use, either if you're really in the need of starting from ground zero, or you're doing really well, but you still need to constantly improve. I think there was a lot of good stuff there. So hopefully you can take something out of that. All right, everybody, that's all I got today. So great job. Let's keep this ball rolling. You all are freaking rock stars. So let's see what we got for this afternoon on open mic. We got